Okay, thank you for joining this evening. Now, as I've already said, my name is Anthony Loxston-Baker and I am the IB Diploma Program Director at GEMS Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis. And the aim of this evening's session is to help you and your sons and daughters, if they're joining us, to hopefully understand the IB Diploma Program better. That's the aim of this evening's session. So with that in mind, the IB Diploma Program is an academically challenging, balanced program of education. It's widely accepted and respected at tertiary institutions around the world. It's suited to students particularly studying in an international context, hence the name, the International Baccalaureate. If I can just draw your attention to, as you're looking at the left-hand side of the screen, the IB Diploma Program is built around a number of different ideas for how we approach learning. At the center is the IB Learner Profile. Now, this helps students to develop not just what they are learning, but how they are learning and the sort of learners that they become. The jigsaw document here, the picture, shows the skills and competences and mindsets that the IB Diploma Program helps to develop in that students who choose to opt for it. Now, this is something that sits alongside our ability to help students develop skills and competences to adapt to changing circumstances. Incredibly important when you consider the world that we currently live in at the moment. Beyond that, we also have what is known as the IB Diploma Program Core, which covers theory of knowledge, creativity, action and service, and extended essays. Now, these are elements that are a key part of the IB Diploma Program's unique offering. It's also something that's replicated in our other pathways. I'll talk more about them specifically later after I've addressed the main offering, which is the subjects you can see in green and blue around the left side of the screen. The IB Diploma Program offers, as I say, breadth and depth of learning with 6 subject areas in which students will choose their studies. And behind all of that and beyond all of that is the IB's mission statement, which is to develop international mindedness. We live in a culture where the vast majority of people that you will come across are expatriates or have come from other countries at some point in the past to come and live here. And the IB Diploma Program really looks at our place in the world and how students can contribute to that beyond simply their academic studies. Moving on, there are a couple of key pieces of information for the Diploma Program before we leap into the discussions first. Students who study the diploma must study 6 subjects. These are chosen from the 6 separate subject groups that I will take you through in a moment. From these 6 subjects, students will choose 3 at higher level and 3 at standard level. The 3 higher level subjects, those represent those subjects that students are most interested in potentially pursuing to higher and further education. For instance, if a student were considering medicine for a career, engineering for a career, they would prioritize subjects at high level that would support them in that. So medicine, biology, chemistry, or physics as 2 of their 3 high level choices. For engineering, physics and mathematics. This is something that we will help students with and have been helping students with the presentations that we've delivered to them over the course of this year to help them understand how higher level and standard level subjects work. In terms of the higher level subjects, students will have more curriculum time to devote to those compared to their standard level subjects. In terms of the grades that students are awarded, subjects at higher level and standard level both attract the same grade, which is graded from 1 to 7. However, higher level subjects are those ones that tertiary institutions, universities and colleges will be looking at most closely as they represent the skills and knowledge that students will need to demonstrate and develop to move on to higher learning in those subjects. Students also complete 3 core subjects, the extended essay, theory of knowledge, and CAS, community, activity and service. I'll speak more about those in more detail, but the idea is that they add breadth of learning and a more holistic learning experience to IB Diploma Program candidates. Now, this is something that is replicated in our A-level programs and our IB career pathways, where in the IB career pathway, we have service learning as a key part. And in our A-level pathway, we also have service learning as a key part of that as well. We feel that students beyond their subjects also need to be valuable and valued members of their community, which is where service learning helps them to engage in that and reflect on what they're actually contributing in those communities. Finally, students will also complete a Group 4 Sciences interdisciplinary project in Year 12. This is something that gets them used to working in project teams that combine a number of disciplines together to achieve an outcome, a vital skill particularly for students when they transition to university, and also when they transition into the workplace. Moving on to the next part of the presentation. These are the 6 subject groups that IB Diploma Programme students will select their subjects from. Group 1 covers English language acquisition. Group 2 is language acquisition. This is compulsory. Students will need to, as part of their IB Diploma Programme, select a language from the list here. For students who already have some facility with the options we offer, French, Spanish, then they can opt for high level or standard level. For students who are complete beginners in languages, we have what is known as the ab initio qualification. And now these are offered at standard level and they are aimed at beginners, complete beginners for languages. Students will choose for a range of options from this block. Group 3 is the humanities, which covers history, geography, and also includes business management and economics and psychology, 3 of our most popular subjects. You'll notice that our business management and economics and psychology are also offered in Group 6, which is the electives. I'll speak to those points later. Group 4 includes our experimental sciences, including cross-disciplinary subjects such as environmental systems and society, which explores the impact that human systems and sciences are having on the ecology and global environmental systems. We also offer sports, exercise, and health science in this group for those students who wish to pursue that at an academic level. Group 5 is mathematics. We have mathematics analysis and approaches and mathematical applications and interpretations. Which option is most suitable to your son or daughter is something that we will discuss in when they enroll. Depending on students' pathways, we will recommend they follow math analysis or math applications. During enrollment, our head of mathematics and our Key Stage 5 coordinator will be on hand. Any questions you have about these that you'd like to put to me after the session, I'd be happy to collate and pass on to them, and they'll certainly be able to answer and address those. Our final group is the arts and our electives. The arts covers visual arts, theatre, music, film, and dance, performance arts, but also technical arts in terms of film. Electives. We have also included some of our most popular subjects in here. For those students who wish to follow a medical or science-based pathway, we offer biology, chemistry, and physics in Group 4 and Group 6. Using the examples I've already provided earlier, students who wish to continue or pursue a career in perhaps medicine, they would be able to select one of the sciences from Group 4 and then a second in Group 6. The example I also gave, students who wish to select additional humanities. Many of our students select business management and economics as a popular combination before going on to further study. These electives allow them to do that. One thing we're not able to offer is the opportunity of students to be able to elect from all of our Group 1 through 5 subjects in this area. We are constrained simply from timetabling and staffing perspectives from being able to do that. So what we have ensured is that our most popular subjects are offered as electives as well, which is why you see the experimental sciences, business management, psychology, and economics offered here. In addition to our offering and to be able to expand what we're able to offer, we also partner with Mojo Learning, which is one of our online blended learning provider. You will notice some of our subjects are marked as blended. These are provided through a combination of face-to-face and online teaching through Mojo Education. Mojo is an online web-based learning platform that enhances student learning and learning options. It is staffed by IB teachers with a minimum of 5 years IB teaching experience. In effect, your son and daughter will have a teacher, a Mojo teacher who could be based in anywhere in the world. We do try and ensure that those teachers are based in time zones that are conducive to learning in this environment so that we are not having students who are, say, 12 hours time differences. And they will have an IB teacher who is a skilled IB teacher, often with examiner experience. And alongside that, they will also be supported by an academic tutor at WSO. So half of students' lessons will be conducted via Zoom, as we're doing here, collaborating with other students from around the world. The remaining time on timetable will be spent in the classroom with an academic tutor, who is also a trained IB teacher. The idea behind this learning model is to allow students, A, to learn at largely their own pace and take responsibility for their own learning, B, to widen the provision that we are able to provide here to our students. You'll notice from the previous slides, we're able to offer subjects such as Mandarin ab initio. We don't have the teaching capacity to be able to do that. We don't have the skills, but we can offer it by partnering with Mojo. Regular feedback and assessment is shared both with the students and the school from their Mojo teachers, And the academic tutor has the opportunity to work very closely with students to provide additional opportunities to teach and reteach content that may have been found difficult, reinforcing and enabling students to cover concepts they wouldn't have ordinarily been able to do in such detail. One thing I will draw your attention to is that the subjects we offer via Mojo have been vastly scaled back. In response to student feedback and parental feedback, we've reduced the number of subjects we have on offer via Mojo. This is in no way a reflection of the quality of the courses. It is more to respond to parental requirements and student requirements who felt that the relationships they built with teachers at these schools were important and do provide students with the best possible learning environments. So with that in mind, we have reduced our provision to only cover our ab initio languages and one of our blended options, ITGS and economics, as we transition to a face-to-face course. Those will be the only courses that are offered via Mojo for the coming Year 12 students. In the future, we will be looking at Mojo closely and looking at how we can either expand or contract the provision depending on the demand from our student and parent base. This part of the presentation covers the core offering, which is the core academic offering of subjects that students will complete, 6 higher level, 6 standard level subjects chosen from these. In terms of when students need to make their choices, we have had indicative choices from them through the options process, submitted via a Microsoft form that they've completed if they are Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis students. These choices will be confirmed at enrolment, and they are open to variation and modification depending on changing interests and how far student attainment is measured in the upcoming exam award seasons, albeit without the exams. For students joining us or considering joining us from outside Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis, options will be confirmed at enrolment as well. This will be dependent on meeting certain entry requirements for the subjects. I will speak to that point later when I consider the questions that have been submitted. Alongside the academic offering, and this is one of the elements that sets the IB Diploma programme apart in terms of its depth and breadth of learning, are the core. The core of the programme is made up of 3 distinct programs that are aimed at developing breadth of learning, but also preparing students for further academic study at tertiary education institutions, universities and colleges. First part of the course is the extended essay. This is a 4,000-word extended research project that students complete from start to finish on their own and independently with support of a supervisor. Second is theory of knowledge, which is a critical thinking course that's aim is to encourage and allow students to develop their reflective capacity to think about why they acquire and have the knowledge that they are developing. It gives the learning purpose. That is not to say that acquiring a qualification to go on and achieve a certain career outcome does not provide that purpose. I'm certainly not saying that. But what it does is allow students to critically evaluate the value of what they are learning, and in turn, how that can be of value to their communities, whether they be local, international, national, and their place in the world. Finally, and continuing from that point of students' contributions to their local, national, and international communities is what is known as CAS, C-A-S. This stands for Community, Action, and Service. And this allows students to learn through experience in their community, through providing service to others, and through physical activities designed to develop their own capabilities. The extended essay, as a standalone subject, what is it? It's an independent, self-directed piece of research finishing with a 4,000-word paper. The self-directed element is very important to touch upon. The aim behind this is to replicate students' learning that will be undertaken at university. They will be expected to formulate an appropriate research question with support from a trained supervisor at school. That supervisor will be an IB teacher who is a specialist in the subject that your son or daughter is interested in pursuing an extended research project in. It's a personal exploration of the topic that enables them to communicate ideas of their own and develop an effective academic argument in a written research paper. It is preparation for further study at university. Students will be expected in many cases to produce independent research papers from developing relevant research questions, identifying a relevant body of research, considering it critically, and then conducting their research to complete an academic outcome and findings. It gives students the opportunities to practice this before university, enabling them to be fully prepared for the demands and rigors of academic writing. It also helps them to learn how to access resources and sources of information that can enable them to inquire and develop answers to academic and other questions. It also develops familiarization with keeping deadlines, avoiding plagiarism, and the formatting of research papers. It again also gives students the opportunity to educate themselves on further education decisions. This is their chance to start looking at fields that go beyond the subjects that are studied at the IB Diploma program, and start narrowing their choices and fields for areas of study that they may be interested in the future. Creativity, activity and service is the other major strand of the core. And the program itself, whilst it is curtailed somewhat by restrictions in place due to the COVID-19 virus, it does involve students engaging in valuable learning experiences outside the classroom. How this looks in the future is a model that we're looking at with the IB Diploma program, but in the past, what we have been doing is creating new experiences for students to grow, progress, and reflect upon. You can see here, working from the top left picture, students supporting the Dubai Marathon through service opportunities. The top right, a residential activity service in Calvert, where students developed and built their own skills. And the two at the bottom are our Camps Internationals, one of our partners, where students have the opportunity to attend and visit other countries to develop and contribute to communities there. What this looks like in 2021 when students return to school is a very big question. The focus will definitely be on local communities and action within those communities, creativity opportunities that we're able to offer as a school for students to develop. And as the world begins to open up and opportunities develop, we will consider moving beyond those. However, at the moment, your child's safety is very much top priority. We will look to develop a creativity, activity and service program within WSO that allows students to develop these vital skills beyond the classroom and learn how to become effective members of community, able to learn beyond their academic subjects and experience a wide variety of valuable learning experiences outside the classroom. The benefits of these are twofold. One, to help your son or daughter to develop into a rounded citizen capable of contributing to their local and national and international communities and affecting change in a positive way in those, but also as an additional way of boosting and enhancing students' applications when they come to university. This gives them the opportunity to demonstrate and set themselves apart from their peers when completing those applications. This concludes the first part of the presentation. As I've said at the beginning, this will be available as a video for you to revisit. What I'm going to do now is move on to questions that have been submitted from yourselves prior to the session. What I'm going to do is work through the questions that have been submitted and address as many of them as I'm able to in this session. Should time permit at the end, because you have been a very generative crowd, I must say I have an awful lot of questions to work through in this session. Should time permit at the end, before the 6 p.m. close on the meeting, I will take questions from you as attendees. If you do have any questions you would like to ask that I've not addressed, please do put them in the chat at the side of the screen, and we will collate any that I'm not able to answer in this session after the session and get responses to everyone who attended. I'm going to work through the questions I've received in the order that I've received them. Where I'm not able to address them, I will provide options and responses from other members of staff to help you with those. The first question is, do US universities give any preferences to the IB Diploma program? The honest answer to that is it does vary from university to university. The IB Diploma program is an internationally recognized an internationally recognized qualification. The vast majority of American universities recognize it, and it is a valid qualification. There are some restrictions on subjects that students need to opt for in North America, particularly around mathematics. Now, this does vary by region, and it has got something that we do encourage students to look into if they have specific institutions that they are interested in and specific regions, both in the United States and Canada, that they are interested in studying. And it's prior to enrollment that they opt for, they have a look at those institutions and they look at the entry requirements, particularly around mathematics. Another example that is something of a curveball is Florida. If students wish to attend a university in Florida or a college in Florida, they are actually required to have some level of Spanish language proficiency. Please don't be concerned that there are some restrictions here that I'm suggesting students need to look into prior to enrollment. Mr. Arnott, our Careers in Higher Education advisor, has been working very closely with the current Year 11 group of students to go through these requirements and begin helping them identify where they can investigate these through our university platform, Unifrog. Mr. Arnott will also be on hand during enrolment in September when your son or daughter comes to enroll, so he will be there to put these questions to before students formally move on to any of our learning pathways and programs. The second question I have is the IB Diploma program recognised in Europe and Australia? This is a resounding yes. It is a recognised program in Europe and Australia. The IB Diploma program and the IB organisation is itself based in The Hague and is widely recognised across Europe. In terms of entry requirements for individual universities in Europe and Australia, these do vary by institutions. The reason I mention this is when students come to apply for university, for North America and for the UK, there are application portals called UCAS in the UK, the Universities College and Application Service. And in America, there are two major core application platforms, Common App and Coalition, where students apply to those and they can then have their application submitted to a range of colleges. In Europe and Australia, often the application is direct to the university. So whilst the qualification is recognised, the entry requirements vary from institution to institution. And that is something that myself, the post-16 team, and Mr. Arnott, our careers advisor, will be helping and supporting students with through our Bespoke Careers program during year 12 and year 13. The next question I find is an interesting one. Is the IB Diploma program more comprehensive than other pathways? My answer to that would be that the IB Diploma program is simply different to other pathways. It is more comprehensive in the sense that there are 6 subjects that students are expected to study. But again, within that, there is a wide variety of focus. So for instance, students focusing on higher level subjects and standard level subjects. It is a broader pathway. A-level and IBCP pathways are for those students who wish to specialise, who know and are committed to certain pathways and know that they do not wish to develop their own learning along other pathways that the IB Diploma programme would encourage. In terms of the comprehensive nature of it, we have the IB Career Pathway has its own core offering of language development, service learning, and a reflective project that allows students to focus on an ethical dilemma that is related to their own career pathway. So, and similarly in A-level, we have the extended project qualification and also accompanies the extended essay and is similar in scope. We also have service learning, which is also similar in scope and develops students in terms of communication, CAS. Is it more easy to get accepted in different universities around the world than with other pathways? The answer to that is it varies from institution to institution. University graduates with the IB Diploma programme certainly do experience in the UK higher acceptance levels than, say, students who are on other pathways. That is not to say that these other pathways are not as rigorous. I can provide statistics on that to you outside of this. It really does depend on students' performance in the pathways. If they perform well and if they meet the offers that they're offered, then there is very little difference between IB Diploma, IB Career Pathway, and A-level pathways. The difference between the pathways is those that are most suitable to your son or daughter. Do they need to finish all the subjects at the same time? Yes, in order to be awarded the IB Diploma programme in the academic years that they're studying for. Just to speak to a comment, what is accepted more in the UK, A-level or IB? The A-level is indeed the sort of gold standard, and the BTEC are both UK qualifications, but the IB Diploma programme is also widely accepted in the UK by all institutions. The career pathway occasionally needs to be verified with an individual institution, but the IB Diploma, IBCB and IPCP, the IB Career Pathway and A-levels are all accepted in the UK. I'm just picking up on a question from the chat there that fits with this question. What I'd like to do is, thank you for populating the chat with additional questions. What I will do is continue to work through the questions that have been pre-submitted, and then I'll come to the questions that have been submitted in chat if they haven't already been covered. If we do happen to run out of time in the meeting, I will ensure that the questions from the chat are transposed and that we do offer a comprehensive Q&A after the session. The point I was talking to initially was, do students need to finish all their subjects at the same time? If students wish to joining in the 2021 academic session, wish to graduate in 2023 in July, then they will need to complete their subjects in that session to the timescales that they need to. However, should students find themselves, due to adverse circumstances or changing circumstances, having to take a break from their studies, they can defer completion of their studies and then resit in either the November exam session that is offered by the IB Diploma programme or the subsequent May exam session 2024. Students have up to 3 opportunities to do this if they have to defer. However, the principal aim is for students to complete all of their studies within one academic session, so over the course of 2 years. But there are options for students to defer if they need to. Where this is the case and where this is required, we as a management team and myself as the International Baccalaureate coordinator at our school will arrange that on a case-by-case basis. One question that seems to be coming up a lot is, in case students don't achieve the required marks in August to enter his chosen subjects in IB or A level, are there any possibility to let them continue the chosen subjects? There is some leeway on the grades that we are expecting students to achieve. However, the grade expectations we have across all subjects are in place for a reason. They represent a minimum requirement of academic knowledge and ability that students need to access the courses. Where there is a variation of, say, 1 grade, we would look to be flexible. Where that is more than 1 grade and where that is repeated in a number of subjects across the diploma program, then we would need to take a much harder look at that. And I would argue that alternative pathways would be more suited to those students. The requirements we have in place represent a certain level of academic knowledge and ability that students need to have demonstrated. And where they are very wide of the mark, say 2 grades or more, then that would represent a significant struggle to those students. All cases will be reviewed on enrolment with myself, Mr. Luffman, and Miss Walker, the head of the IB Careers Pathway. And our aim is to make sure that students are on the correct pathway for them that represents an achievable goal and is in line with both their aspirations and their academic ability. Our ultimate aim is to get students into the university and careers that they wish to pursue in the most effective way. And the grade boundaries and the entry requirements for those courses are part of an indicator for that, but those will be considered, and there is some leeway. However, more than 1 grade, it becomes a challenge both to the student and the learning that occurs on that course. Are there prerequisites for any pathway? I've already spoken to that point. There are, and they are detailed in our prospectus that has been delivered to all Year 12 parents. So please do review and familiarise yourself with those, as they will be benchmarks that we are using as a school to allow access onto certain courses, with the variation that I've just spoken to. The difference, there's a question here about the difference between standard level now and higher level. The prospectus that's been shared with you as parents covers those differences between standard and higher level. I'll use an example that I'm familiar with as a history teacher. The difference between standard level, and this applies to all standard level subjects. The standard level elements represent a core curriculum for each of the subjects: chemistry, biology, physics, business management, you name it. Every single one of the subjects has a core curriculum at standard level that students need to complete. If you are progressing on to higher level, in addition to that standard level curricula, you will complete specific higher level units. So for instance, that extend students' understanding beyond the core standard level of knowledge. So for instance, in history, we have two core units that students study, one on rights and protest, one on, authoritarian states and rulers. Every history student will study those. In addition to that, every history student will complete an internal assessment. And this is a piece of coursework, independent study that accounts for 20% of the standard level, 25% of the standard level grade and 20% of the higher level grade. It is designed to replicate academic investigations in that subject. So in history, students will carry out an internal assessment into an historical inquiry using the tools, techniques, and academic skills of an historian. Every single subject from each group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, has an internal assessment. Difference between a standard level internal assessment and a higher level internal assessment is that standard level assessments carry a higher contribution to the overall grade. It equates to 25% of the overall grade. In higher level, the internal assessment contributes to 20% of the overall grade. In higher level subjects, students expand on the standard level curriculum and go into further detail on topics that they will have learned at standard level, expanding their ideas and knowledge to almost approaching undergraduate level at IB Diploma program. So for instance, in history, our students will build on their studies into rights and protests and authoritarian rulers by looking at other areas in the world that they wouldn't have investigated in their standard level program. That, I think, covers the level of assessment. Assessment varies by subject as well. The vast majority, in fact, all subjects apart from theatre, are examined through a combination of internal assessments, externally verified assessments such as the exams, and other units. Now, the assessment profile for each of the subjects is detailed in the prospectus. If you wish to find out what the precise assessment requirements are, say for IB Theatre or IB Physics, please do refer to the prospectus. And if you have any additional questions that aren't addressed by the prospectus, do please pass them on to myself, or do please pass them on to subject teachers of your son and daughter. They will be able to answer those. The difference between A-levels and IB is one, in my opinion, of specialisation versus a broad nature. Now, the IB Diploma programme, there is a misconception that because of its broad nature, there aren't opportunities to specialise. There are. This is where the higher level options come in. These are the subjects that students specialise in. Now, the IB does give a broader palette of educational experiences and subject knowledge for students. That there are six subject areas in which students are expected to achieve, as opposed to 4 at A-level. A-level is very much a case of something for those students whose pathway is one of specialism, and where they have decided that they actually have a much narrower focus for their academic studies. It's no less rigorous for that. Both the IB Diploma programme and A-levels are rigorous. A-level tends to, in comparison to, say, the IB Diploma programme, there is the same level of rigor between the high level subjects and A-level subjects. There is a slightly wider level of breadth to your A-level subjects in terms of their content, but it's very fine difference between them. But in terms of the differences between the pathways, as I've spoken to earlier, the idea here is for WSO to offer as broad a range of qualifications as possible, so that the students who are currently at WSO and who are joining WSO have as many options as possible that are relevant to and enable them to achieve their academic and career goals. I've got another question here. Does the IB improve students' chances of acceptance in American universities? It is a well-regarded international qualification. It is supplementary to AP and high school diplomas. It is on a level with them. However, as I say, it is highly regarded as an international qualification for its depth, its breadth, and its rigor. Is certainly another question there. Combination with any American diploma or AP, is it sufficient for university acceptance? Absolutely. And we have placed students in North American, Canadian universities, European universities, Australian universities, all with the IB Diploma programme, UK universities, all with IB Diploma programme qualifications. One final question about how is creativity action service measured is in terms of hours spent. This is a holdover from previous previous IB programs, where students were expected to spend a set amount of time completing creativity opportunities, action opportunities, and service opportunities, 50 hours in each. Now, since the last academic session last year, that has been done away with. And the reason behind that is what we were finding as IB educators and the IBO as an organisation were finding is some students were getting too hung up on completing set amounts of hours rather than focusing on the quality of their extracurricular learning experiences and what it was enabling them to learn and develop beyond their classroom learning. So students, rather than being expected to complete a set amount of time in these, they're expected to demonstrate that they have engaged in activities that have incorporated a wide range of these 3 strands and the skills they would look to develop within them. So we look for students to develop a breadth of creativity opportunities, action opportunities, and service learning opportunities, rather than set amounts of time in each of them. And we also have what is known as a CAS, Creativity, Action and Service project, where students are expected to undertake an extended project that incorporates at least 2 of these strands, creativity and action, creativity and service, or action and service in any combination. So from the first question is, what is the difference between A-levels and IB in terms of college acceptance? Which pathway is more widely accepted? From what I've seen also in the UK as an IB and A-level educator, in terms of acceptance, that they're equivalent. In terms of which pathway is more widely accepted, this can vary by country. In some cases, in European universities, it pays to look at the career pathway and double check what individual universities and institutions may accept or may not accept. But for the most part in the UK, the IB Diploma programme is widely accepted as A-levels. Some United States institutions it does pay to look at closely, just to double check, but as far as I'm aware, IB and A-levels are accepted at those as well. Both enjoy a wide range of acceptance. The IB Diploma programme potentially edges it slightly for the North American continent, as there's more equivalency there, but for the most part, those are accepted and they are fine. Thank you, Ahmad Diamat. Any questions will be made available to you following this as well. Just to clarify there, and thank you for calling on that, I am forever making this mistake, I must say, even as an IB educator of 5 years. The C in CAS stands for creativity, not community. It stands for creativity, A for action, S for service. So thank you for following me on that. What is more accepted in UK, A-level or IB? I think that there's equivalency between them. What the vast majority of UK universities are looking for are attainment. What grades or academic level of ability are students able to achieve? And that is across all of the pathways, whether it be the career pathway, the BTEC, a British qualification, A-levels and IB Diploma programme. There is equivalency between IBDP and A-levels. The next question, do universities consider IB more rigorous? So if your child chooses A-level in school that offers both, admission at university will ask, why have you not opted for the more rigorous curriculum? My answer to that has really been addressed in the previous question. They don't. What they look at is attainment in terms of the IB Diploma programme and A-levels. Whilst there may be some variation at Russell Group universities and those at the highest level, Ivy League universities, with those it's often not the academic attainment and the academic qualification that sets students apart as applicants. It's their supercurricular and extracurricular attainment and profile that sets students apart. So my answer to that question would be that IB Diploma programme and A-levels are equal in rigour, and that admissions tutors, from my experience and events that I've attended with them, and through feedback from our higher education advisor and careers advisor, Mr. Arnott, is that these qualifications are regarded as on par. In terms of resharing the requirement for choosing the subjects, I'll make sure that the presentation and all requirements are shared after the session rather than reshare it here, if that's okay. Mrs. Sina Roy, I will share those separately whilst I address the questions. Adnan Mahaba, your final question here. That's a really pointed one. If a student is not studying a foreign language for GCSE, can he still select one of the ab initio languages from Group 2? That is exactly what the ab initio languages are set up for. They are beginners' languages. They are designed to be taught to students who have, and learners who have, no prior knowledge of the particular language in question. At the moment, we offer French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Italian, and we are exploring the possibility of being able to offer German in the September session. Those are all the questions I have. I've had one pointed here. It has been put to me privately. Some individuals may find that the IB pathway isn't to them, to their liking, and their experience hasn't been positive from it. But I can honestly say what we endeavour to do is make sure that we place students on the correct pathway that is relevant to them, their interests, their studies, their academic performance, and their future career prospects. And this is what is one of the most important points of offering these sessions: the A-level session from Mr. Luffman, the BTEC and IB career pathway session from Ms. Walker, the IB diploma programme offering that you're here attending today. It's making sure that students and parents are informed about what the pathways are and what they require, and making sure that at the outset students are placed on to them at the outset, getting them in the right place for them at the beginning of their studies so that they can really maximize the learning and ensure that they are getting the support, the focus, and the right pathway for them in order to achieve their career and university aspirations. So this is why it's really important for us to be having these presentations, to be having this dialogue, to be providing you with the information that we are, so that your son and daughter are making as informed a choice as possible by the time they get to enrolment and they are ready to become and continue or remain as a member of the Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis Post-16 program. Got another question in the chat that says, does the elective group have the same weight as other groups? Yes. All 6 of the subjects from group 1 through 6 have the same weighting. Students are graded 1 through 7 in each of those, and that adds up to their overall points total that they're awarded at the end based on the grades they achieve. In addition to that, there are 3 additional points that are awarded for students' performance in core. If they achieve A's in the extended essay and the Theory of Knowledge program, plus they successfully complete the CAS program, then they can be awarded up to 3 bonus points there for a total of 45 points on offer. What happens when students are applying for university courses? Often, well, not often, always, what universities will say is they will give an overall points total that students are expected to achieve, say 30 points. And then they will specify that in higher level subjects that relate to the course of study your son or daughter wishes to follow, for example, economics, they would look for a specific grade to be achieved in economics. Using the example that I've given, the offer that may be made for a student to take up a course at, say, Warwick could be 32 points across your IB Diploma program with a grade 6 in economics specifically. The highest score attained by WSO is 45 points. We have graduated students who have gone on to study at Oxford, Cambridge, with a total of 45 points. We achieve those. We achieve placements at these universities, same as other institutions. Other institutions may well achieve higher acceptance rates at these universities than WSO, but we are an inclusive school. We're not selective. We include everybody here, and our aim is to provide pathways for everybody, including those students who have aspirations to attend Ivy League and Russell Group, Oxbridge universities, and other top institutions globally. Interesting question. I've got privately from a parent here, and I will address it. Does the 4,000-word essay have to be in English, or could it be in Arabic? It could be completed in Arabic, provided that is the student's mother tongue. We can provide support for that and have done previously. Details about what the extended essay and how it needs to be approached, for the most part, students will qualify and register in English, but we do have options for that. That's the final question from the chat function. I believe we have 8 minutes left. I'm happy to open it up to the floor. If anybody would like to ask a question on me verbally, please can you unmute your microphone and bring your video up, and I'd be happy to address them. Alternatively, what I can do is keep taking questions from the chat. I've just had another one here. It says, can the extended essay be on a GCSE subject? This is a tricky one. My suggestion is we encourage students not to focus on a GCSE subject. Subjects that students have pursued to the IB Diploma program level are ones that they A, have a high degree of ability in, and B, some level of interest in. So we steer students initially to subjects that they have chosen for IB Diploma program. For most students, this follows a line of sight from GCSE to IB to the extended essay. And we encourage students to look at the extended essay. When they begin thinking about their projects, it tends to be January of term 2. Students have had the opportunity to really get to grips with the academic subjects. They've had the chance to get to grip with the 6 academic subjects, they're 3 higher level and 3 standard level, and they start to have a clearer idea of what their further study opportunities will be. And with this in mind, we tend to steer them towards subjects in the extended essay that would support that will replicate that will be in line with subjects that they're considering going on to further study. Creativity, activity and service hours, in terms of how they're completed during COVID-19, what we're looking to do is provide as many opportunities in-house through our enrichment program as possible. As COVID-19 restrictions loosen, we will look to expand those in line with whatever guidance the government is giving us on social distancing and what is safe for our students. We are currently in negotiation with the IB organisation to look at what allowances and changes they are planning on making to the creativity, activity and service program should the restrictions in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic continue. At the moment, the IB organisation's focus is very much on ensuring that the current diploma program 2 year 13 cohort is awarded their grades, and that the process that follows is as rigorous as can be with the exam session. It is something that the IBO is looking at. We do not have a definitive answer on that at the moment, but from a Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis perspective, what we are looking to do is move as many elements of creativity, action and service to be provided in school. I've had a question here, what documents, certificates do the students get at the end of year 13? You will receive a full transcript of your results, which details the grades that you achieved in each of your grades, and you will be awarded the diploma program certificate. Should you pass the core elements of the diploma program, and should you achieve passing grades in all of your 6 subject areas. That is what you will be awarded. You will be an IB Diploma program graduate, and you will be awarded certificate that confirms that, along with the grade in the individual subjects. I have a question from Namin. If the home learning situation continues, would it be more beneficial to choose the A-level pathway? My answer would be no. We have a high level of teaching quality being delivered remotely across all pathways. That decision on whether you would take the A-level pathway or the IB Diploma program pathway really needs to be driven by what you want to choose. If your aspiration was always to complete the diploma program, then complete the diploma program. We have provided outstanding online learning provision at diploma program level, at A level, and IB career pathway and BTEC only. That would be a decision for the individual. We would, of course, not recommend choosing one pathway over another just because of the distance learning situation, should it continue, which at this point hasn't been confirmed. But I would say, think very carefully before committing to that. The pathway needs to be correct for you, you as a parent, and your son or daughter as a student. And if the A-level pathway is the right one for them, where they have that level of specialism and they wish to complete that level of specialism, then yes, by all means do opt for that pathway if the learning situation continues. However, if your son or daughter has the grades and the desire to complete the IB Diploma program, then that should be the program that they pursue, because that would give them the fulfillment and the best chance for academic success. Really good question from Rupa there around standard level and higher level subjects that I'm going to share with the group. The question is, do students have the option to change between standard level and higher level subjects should they find during the course of their course that they wish to pursue a different learning pathway progressing onto university, or indeed they find the passion and facility for the subject that they didn't realize they had before? The answer to that is yes. At certain points during the year, students are able to transfer between standard level and higher level subjects. This is dependent on attainment in that subject. Students will still need to be able to demonstrate that they have a sufficient level of academic knowledge and have attained well in the subject they wish to move from standard level to higher level. They must also then opt to move one of their higher level subjects to standard level. It becomes a trade, if you will, but we do certainly allow that during the course of the year. Once we are in session in September, we will publish the dates, the windows when these options can be changed, and full guidance for that to students and parents both. Question, can students switch to A-levels if they could not cope with IB in year 11 first semester? The answer to that is no. This is one of the reasons why we are so rigorous in ensuring that students are on the correct pathway for them. At the end of term one, too much time has elapsed on all of the courses in terms of learning lost for students to switch from one course pathway to another. The exception to that is the IB career pathway, as it has a core component of the BTEC vocational qualification. If students find that is really where their passion and facility lies, there are options to progress down from the IB career pathway into narrowing their choices to just BTEC only. But we would suggest that after term one, it is too late in terms of the amount of learning that has been covered and the amount of learning that needs to be made up for students to switch pathways. Again, that's why we're so careful and keen to ensure that students are on the correct pathway to begin with. We would, of course, allow students to re-enroll in the subsequent session to begin year 12 again on a different pathway, but within WSO, it is not something we will look to support as it's not in the students' best interests, nor those of the teachers that are teaching them. It becomes an uphill struggle, and we've never been in a situation where we would recommend that. That brings us very nicely to 6 p.m. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I appreciate we are all incredibly busy, and hopefully I have been able to help you understand the IB Diploma program better, and I have been able to give you some insight into what the diploma program means, and also what it means in terms of the offer that is there for you, your families, your students, our students, in terms of making sure that they're on the correct pathway for them. Please do email me if you do have my email. It is available in the prospectus. I'd be happy to address them directly. If you're not able to do that, Michelle Pennell, our Parent Relations Executive, please do pass any questions to her and she will pass them on to me. Thank you very much for your time, attention, and indeed your curiosity this evening. I hope I've been able to make this worthwhile for you all and fulfill all those three. Thank you very much and good evening.